The planning committee meeting on this day, the 2nd of November. Let's start with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
From the Mayor sends her apologies and Councillor Cook is substituting.
Thank you. Councillor Clark going to be coming, do you know, Councillor Clark? Okay, thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Are there any? No, I see none. So let's move on to the next item, which is item number 3, minutes, to approve the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 21st of September and the 12th of October. First, yeah, second, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Good evening, Councillor Clark. That's quite all right. We're just coming up to the public participation section, item number 4. I can see we have 2 members of the public. Do both of you come from Henley? Yeah. Okay, so let's take the lady from Henley first. Thank you. You have 2 to 3 minutes if you'd like to stand whenever you're ready.
Okay, do I need to say who I am or do I need to go for
You can just say who you are.
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm Helen Fraser, I'm live on Luke Avenue. So I want to speak in support of the traffic and pedestrian surveys, which is item 11 on the agenda. Come from Greener Henley Transport Group. We've been looking at ways to make the town more pedestrian friendly, and the crossings on Kings Road, the 3 proposed crossings on Kings Road I'd like to support. The one at the bottom near the 2 mini roundabouts, it's a wide bit of road and it's well used by people going out towards the Fairmont. The one up by the mini roundabout by Waitrose, a lot of people cross on the side where the zebra crossing isn't, and it again is quite a busy road there. And then further towards the town hall, it's a busy bit of road there as people try and cross Kings Road to go to the surgery. So I think there's a good thing to have potentially some more pedestrian friendly crossings in those areas. And I know also they're looking at Fairmont River House as well, and people are that.
Okay, thank you. Would you mind just holding on? Do councillors have any questions at all? I've got a quick question, if that's okay. Yeah. I mean, do you think, you know, that there's a 20-mile-an-hour limit in the centre of Henley now? Yeah. Do you think that any traffic calming measures would help in the first instance?
In terms of actually slowing down the traffic? I'm not sure. I think at the bottom of Kings Road by the ring roundabout, it's the fact that traffic is almost coming from so many different directions. If you're trying to cross, you know, maybe sort of left, right, and trying to anticipate who's coming off the roundabout when. The visibility is just not great, I think, for the cars as well, coming around the corners.
Yeah, I can speak as well because I'm a pedestrian, and it's terrible trying to cross the bottom of Kings Road. You're like playing chicken almost half the time, because you're like looking that way and then you've got to look to see if anything's coming, and it's quite a large stretch of road. And also regarding like zebra crossing where the mini roundabout is thing, I don't cross that way. I always cross the other way where it's proposed, because it's quite unsafe, because there's no footpath going up the right of Kings Road car park, on the left rather. There's no footpath, so you're naturally drawn to go up the footpath that way. So, because then, anyway, it's not easier.
Well,
but I think potentially at that bit, what you just mentioned, as you come towards that mini roundabout, cars swing up quite fast coming up from Kings Road, so I could see a benefit of having a hump or something there just to slow them down, and also to make them slow down for the zebra, because quite often they just go straight through the zebra crossing as well.
Yeah, they are. You are playing chicken as well.
Yeah, so I think just slowing down in that whole area. I don't. Oh, and again, when you get to the end by the town hall, traffic's coming from, you know, sort of swinging around the corner. You haven't got much time to see a car coming around the corner if you're trying to cross.
Yeah.
So maybe slowing down there as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Buckley? No. Okay, thank you very much. So, would you like to stand and state your name? Thank you. Which item you're speaking to?
Good evening. I'm John Furlow, Land Director at Palestine Lands. I'm speaking tonight in support of our proposals to redevelop the site at Balmoral of Road. The site has an extant permission for 3 large detached houses, all of which have an almost identical appearance. Our application seeks to amend the design of each of these houses. Proposed alterations seek to provide 3 high-quality, individually designed homes that have been designed with a softer, more rural elevation appearance than previously designed, which we believe will sit better within the street scene of Rotherham Road. Having taken on board the concerns raised by members of the August committee meeting, revised plans have been prepared to address these concerns. Proposed detached garage for plot 1 has been deleted and the driveway amended, meaning that all development on site will be located outside the protection area of retaining trees. The proposed garages plots 2 and 3 have been redesigned, making them much simpler in form by removing the gable ends, removing the dormer windows, and reducing their height. All these changes made reducing the overall bulk of each garage in comparison to the previous designs. The proposals have been fully considered by SODC planning officers who are now supportive of our proposals, subject to satisfactory comments from the forestry officer. We've consulted a number of local neighbours, all of whom are supportive of our proposals. There are no letters of objection and in fact only letters of support to the application, including the 2 direct immediate neighbours to the site. We hope the changes made address any previous concerns. You are able to support this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Gavshak.
Sorry, I just have one. I didn't quite catch your name and who you represent.
John Furno from Palatine Homes.
From
Palatine Homes.
Palatine. Ah, right, fine. Thank you.
Okay, that's good.
Any questions, councillors? No? Okay. Oh, yes, Councillor
I
Clark.
was going to say, it's nice to see the amendments, you know, it's like that, and you do get amendment and next alteration, it's always lovely to see.
Okay, thank you. Right, councillors, let's move on to plans amended, item number 5. Turn to page 13 of your, thank you. Thank you. Of your agendas. So we have item number 1, which is Jodie on? Jodie is on the line. Yeah, okay. Hold on. So we've got P21 S3511 is a full application and it's for Balmoral 42 Rotherfield Road. And we have Jodie, our planning officer, on the line. Jodie, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me all right? So we've got some amended plans. They go some way to alleviate the concerns you raised previously, including removing one of the detached garages and reducing the volume of the other 2 garages. However, those 2 I do note still have garage space on the ground floor and then the first floor office above. Looking at the website, they're still awaiting comments from the forestry officer, so I haven't got information in terms of their holding objection. Thank you.
Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Arlott.
He's not going to believe this, but I'm going to support this application. Only because it's a lot better than the one they did at Grays Road. No, I think this is, I think it's a win-win for everyone here. You know, an appeal was lost a while ago to build a number of properties there. I think they come back with 3 detached properties. And as the speaker said, they've reduced some items, still waiting for the forestry officer. But, you know, my mind, they are normally fairly big houses down Rotherfield Road, probably some even bigger than what's being proposed. And I think they fit in the site well. So I think it's a win-win for the residents, the builder, and the town council having one of the previous appeals. So I propose acceptance of the proposal of the application.
Seconded.
Will you add, yes, I will second that. Will you add the wording subject to the forestry? Support,
Yeah,
support.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. So well, I hope this will be the end of the long saga that we've had on this. There is permission for 3 dwellings, the SCDC have done, and the amendment. So therefore, I will fully support Councillor Arnott's proposal. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak before it gets to the vote? No, I see none, so let's put this to the vote then. The motion is for approval. All those in favour? Okay, thank you, that's carried.
I'm sure the speaker would like to stay for the end.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is P21 S3620. It's a householder application and it's for 74 Deanfield Road. Would any councillor like to put the proposal forward? Jodie, have you got comments? It's a householder application, so I'm not sure we've prepared any, but have you got any?
I've had an email from the SODC planning officer saying that the amendments alleviate their previous concerns, so they're now recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gavin.
I recommend proposing approval for this. Thank you.
Okay, is
Taking
that
into
seconded?
account the
Councillor
amendments,
Romans,
yeah.
thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
Sorry.
Councillor Buckley?
We looked at this before and it was about blocking out light from the garden. From what you can sort of see, they've narrowed the back of it. I'm presuming that that narrows the amount of shadow going on the garden next door. And then with the obscure glass, then yeah, it seems to be okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in, oh, have we got a seconder? Yes, we have. Councillor Romans, thank you. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Right, that concludes that part of the agenda. Let's move on to agenda item 6, which starts on page 15. We've got P21 S4175, and it's a householder application for 14 Gravitt Close. Councillor Plant.
Yes. Quite straightforward.
Approval, thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Arlett, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, I see none, so let's put this to the vote. Then all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. The next two I'll take together. We've got P21 S4160, which is a householder application, and P21 S4163, which is a listed building application for 5 Hop Gardens. Let's hear from Jodie.
I had no objections. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor Gavin.
Propose acceptance.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Plant. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P21 S4168. It's a householder application and it's for 15 flower pots. Interesting to know that this says Rotherfield Graves. Strange.
Let's just say yes anyway.
Kath, have you got some comments about that?
I don't think Jodie's got any comments.
No, I mean about it being Rotherfield Graves.
I think it's a, I don't really understand because it used to be Harpston, but now it's Henley. It's a Holmes Park, isn't it?
Yeah. Should we just
I'll
query that with?
Yes, I'll send it to SADC.
Yeah, thank you. Right, it's a householder application, so Jodie won't be speaking. So councillors, any comments? Councillor Plants?
Approval. Very strict.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gavin. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next item is P21 S4198. It's a householder application for 9 Haywoods Close. Councillor Plants?
I'm not a huge fan of it being done, but approval.
Yeah.
Second that. The second part.
Who's seconded? Who's a second? Yeah, Councillor Gavin seconding.
Yes, I'll second. I mean, there's enough parking on Hayward's Close and the driveway, so therefore it's not lots of parking. And I think people can sensibly convert their garages into another room. Fine, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. The next is P21 S4191. It's a householder application and it's for 36 Deanfield Road. Would any councillor like to speak? Councillor Buckley?
I've had a look at it. It looks quite nice, actually. I would like to propose it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Plant, you seconding?
Well, I was just gonna, yes, but I was gonna say, if number 32 statements are correct about their property being directly overlooked, if that is the case, that could be disputed.
Yeah, that's what I've got on with street class.
Yeah.
Because the way they've got it designed, the houses behind it, you're actually sort of into the garages, but it's not so bad.
So are you happy to accept the amendment for your
Yes.
proposal? Okay, thank you. So it's an approval with a condition. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Olive?
Yeah, I'm going to speak against this. I think this is total overdevelopment of this site. It's already had at least one fairly big extension to it. And I think this is just kind of one too many, just literally taking up all the land on the site there. So, I won't be supporting the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, I see none, so let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? All those against? Split. Split. Did you see split?
Wasn't it 4-3?
4-3, isn't it?
It was 4-3.
No,
Stefan's
let's-
discretion, no. Were you for or against?
I was for.
Ken was
Yeah,
against.
for.
Let's
Let's just do
Right.
this again, just to make sure, because I thought it was. Right,
All
so
those in
all those in.
Approval, 2, 3, 4, 5.
7.
Come on, this is someone's extension we're talking about here. Let's not be jovial about it. 1, 2, 3, 4 against. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's against.
Using your casting vote.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Your decision, Madam Chairman.
That was my decision.
So I'll propose-
Okay, so if we've got an overdevelopment,
I'll propose-
just to summarise.
I'll propose refusal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
and all those in favour?
Overdevelopment,
Right, lack of privacy.
I think none of the neighbours are against it, so that'd be a tough one to use. You can make some neighbours up.
It's only really overdeveloped, because if we're talking about putting forward obscure glass, then, as you say, it is somebody's extension. You sort of got a very nicely designed extension that's quite visible from the road, and actually looks quite good.
Yeah, but
I know.
looking quite good,
I'm just
isn't
removing-
a,
I'm removing a bit about the privacy, because our proposal put forward that there was privacy, that we were like caring for the
that's,
privacy
I'm
concerns.
afraid that isn't a thing in planning. It's,
I'm just
yeah,
getting-
okay.
Actually, might be a Thursday, one was on maybe and overdevelopment.
Yeah, because it doesn't have obscure glass now in the plan, we had to just deal with what's in the plan.
That's fine.
Okay, you, okay, you okay with me? We did a vote, did we?
No, refusal.
Okay, fine. I thought we'd already done that. Right, you've done the proposal, I've seconded, all those in favour? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move on.
It's definitely going through it, actually. It's definitely going through it, actually.
Right, so we've got P21 S4271, which is, you have to remind me what that one is, RN. It's a reserved matter.
Jodie has some comments.
Yeah, it's Wyvale Country Gardens. Over to Jodie.
Thank you. So yeah, this is a reserved matters application. The principle of this has already been established through the outline application that was approved in 2019. So this application is considering details of appearance, landscaping, layout and scale. I note that the development proposed allows for quite a lot of landscaping that can be seen in the plans, including the proposed and existing trees. more could be done in terms of individual design of dwellings and carbon reduction in line with policy DES 10. But as I've said, this is not dealing with a new planning application, and the principle's already been established. Separate from this would be, there's a condition on the original outline application that states prior to the commencement of development, details of sustainable drainage measures should be submitted. So issues around drainage would be considered separately under that condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Plant.
I think until we have detailed drainage proposals on how they're going to overcome the problems that next door is already facing. I've got no objections to the plan. I think the plan's a great landscape looks really nice, but it's just whether that, whether the drainage falls foul of that or not.
Let's just go for a bit of a discussion on this, because we've got to be really careful with this one. Councillor Buckley, would you like to comment?
Clarification on
Yeah.
what Julie had said. Is this application conditional on the drainage, or is that a separate matter? Is that what Julie was saying? It's a separate matter.
Separate matter.
So we can't reject it on the basis of the separate matter.
That's right.
Well, in principle, this plan is already approved.
Yeah.
Just change some minor details.
It's going to be one step at a
that's
time.
fine.
Yeah. Councillor
Sorry.
Gamshak.
There was an outline plan permission for this site. God knows how long ago, a year, 18 months ago. But they always reserve matters.
Yeah.
Of design.
Yeah.
Now, Jodie's established, and we confirmed with Jodie, that the drainage is a separate thing. That will come later.
Yeah.
But my view is that the designs in this application are acceptable and that we should pass it.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that drainage will come at a later date, and if they haven't solved the problem of drainage, then we can kick up a fuss again. So I propose we accept these reserved matters.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded, Councillor Plant? Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Clark.
Yeah, my concern, Madam Chairman, is the access into the site. Prior to the
That's-
farm being done.
Yeah, again, that's a separate matter. It's not part of this reserved matters application. That's what you're concerned about, but yeah. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, I see none. So let's put this to vote then. All those in favour of approval? And all those against?
Did someone actually propose them?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, it was councillor Gamshak and
We
councillor
like
Plant.
the landscape.
Thank you, that's
Nice little
Karen.
rendered picture. Some shading on it and stuff.
It's the crayons that
Yeah.
got them.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was going to mention that. Let me do it.
Cool.
Let's move on then.
Ken's on.
I want to say.
We've got P21 S4274, and it's a full application for Pride Park, Bradmore. Jodie.
I have no overriding objections. This is a large dwelling that's proposed, but set on a sufficient plot. I do note that there's no objections from Historic England, but as of yet waiting for comments from the conservation and forestry officers.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no, Lawrence had his hand up first, but I want to mention something. But Lawrence.
I was
So
going,
I wasn't,
I
I'm,
was going to this.
you were, sorry, you
I was
were,
talking to this one.
okay, you've got a proposal,
Oh, approval.
okay. Seconded,
Yeah, on the condition we can do a site visit.
No.
Call it
She's
in.
my neighbour.
Drop off the Christmas pudding, try that.
Seconded.
would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor
Well,
Arlen.
unless I was looking at the wrong drawing, Madam Chairman, it's in a massive property for a two-bedroom house. It's in so many rooms, what we've been.
Yeah, I didn't think it was 2 rooms, I thought it looked like it was 3 or 4 rooms.
Well, on the application, it said it was two bedrooms.
10 rooms.
I mean,
two
as in at the
bedrooms.
top,
There's
Up on the upper
4 or
deck.
5 at the top, I think.
So
There's only 2 of them with
I would
bedrooms.
just need to query some of the items that were noted on the application as a 2-bedroom. And then it didn't mention any bedrooms, it just had rooms.
Yeah.
So many rooms.
Many
Is
private.
there any concern about us as to what they put in?
Well, yeah, it is the amount of bedrooms.
Councillors, one thing that I did want to mention to you all was that my only not doubt, concern, too strong a words, but I mean, I would really like a condition on this. I'm suggesting to you that this house can never have access out onto the road, out into the main road, that it maintains its,
Means so that there's not a separate access.
no separate
They've
access.
got several entrances.
They've got the entrance in
They've
from
got
Lambridge.
3.
They
They've
said the
got
access
3.
for this property was going to be from Lambridge.
There's 3 accesses.
So it's not the main road out onto Gravel Hill.
They've got multiple access.
It's, they were specific.
Who knows this plot? It is slightly difficult when you don't know the plots at all, because it's so large. Councillor Arlett, have you got any experience with?
No, at all. As I said, I'd like
Price
to,
Park.
like to go and see what we're proposing actually.
I can
Councillor Gavshak, have you got any knowledge? No.
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 I
Okay.
mean,
It's a very large plot.
there's a design, it's a large plot. If the access is into Lambridge Road.
That was the only thing that
fine.
was unclear for me.
Well, that's all right. And,
Was the
I
where the
mean, you
access
could put a
was.
caveat in subject to historic. If you want to.
Going from North Lambridge, but it's the lane.
Yeah,
Takes you around behind
Lambridge.
Badgemore.
Yeah,
Is that
Lambridge
Lambridge?
Lane, yeah.
perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Perfectly
There's
okay.
like no traffic.
So I
It
would,
doesn't come out Gravel Hill. No.
No.
no, it doesn't,
Okay.
because the Pride Park backs on to Lambridge Road.
Mm.
Right, so it's fine.
Okay. All right, well, listen, we've got, it's been seconded, hasn't it? Yes, by yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, I see none. So all those in favour? All those against? Abstaining? Okay. Thank you. We've got one abstention. Yes,
Can I-
councillor Derbyshire.
Could I,
It's
with
been
your
carried.
your permission, a gentleman has arrived into the public gallery. It may be that you want to observe, but it might well be worth explaining that public participation session is finished, unless we give discretion. But
Did you want to come for the public
My apologies, yes,
participation?
I'd come in regard to the crossing points.
Okay, that's going later. Thank you. Yes, public participation, it was at the beginning,
I do apologise.
but if we've got any questions, we'll certainly turn to you. Thank you. Right, so, right, we've done that one. Thank you. Let's turn over the page, councillors. So we're now on page 16 and we've got P21 S4277. It's a householder application. And it's for 10 Clarence Road. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Clark.
Approval, Madam Chairman.
Okay, is that seconded? Councillor Plant, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlett?
Yeah, I've got those things. I think it's massively overdevelopment for Clarence Road. As we all know, it's a terrace block of houses. This is a room in the roof with the dormers. I don't think it shadows the next door neighbours, or it will do if it's built. So I think it's unneighbourly and overdevelopment. So I won't be supporting the proposal.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor Buckley.
There doesn't seem to be any complaints from neighbours from the planning side.
Mm,
The dormers, there are other houses with dormers around there, aren't there?
mm.
Um,
It's a conservation
It is a
area.
conservation area. The work's been done to the back of the building.
Mm,
So there are issues.
yeah,
This is common to much of other terraced streets around Henley. I think, if there's an area when we look at park environment, places like that, where nothing has been done, or very little has been done, and find in areas where there's already relatively extensive development, it's hard to.
mm. It looked like a large plot to me.
It's not
Um,
changing any of the ultimate roof heights. In the main pitch height stays the same, the main chimney stack stays the same, it just protrudes back out the back on 5%.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No?
Can
Councillor
I
Arlen?
just come back then?
Yeah.
I think earlier in the evening, we were talking about building smaller houses. And now we're talking about extending the house from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. The council's having both of us.
That's exactly what we proposed at the start to go for.
Yeah,
We changed 2 beds to 3 beds, we're just being continuing the same, aren't we?
I know councillor Arlett is referring to a serious point about the housing mix being changed in this town. And it is a serious point, but there isn't really anything in planning to say, right, you're not able to do that because we need to preserve the housing mix. I'm right, aren't I, Jodie?
Yeah, it's not a new house, so it would just be dealing with the principles of the extension, really, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We do this in areas where there has been, so at Park, Marmion, Grange, where there is almost none. I remember recently there was someone that came in for an extension there and we said no on the grounds that no one else has, and those are 2-bed family homes on that. So I think there are areas that are relatively protected and there are areas that are more developed. So housing is more affordable.
You're on King's Road, back on the way to his car.
Yeah. Okay, all right, let's move on. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? All those against? So that's carried, isn't it? Yeah, carried. Thank you, just.
I thought that was 4, wasn't that 4 against?
Now we've got a chair with us next.
1, 2, 3, 4.
No, chair was with us.
No.
That's fair discretion.
Okay, let's move
Not too
on.
bad.
That's a great one. Okay, so we've got next, I'm going to take the next two together. We've got P21 S4 282, and it's a household application, with P21 S4 2A3, which is listed building application for 96 Bell Street. Let's ask Jodie to speak.
I have no objections, subject to the satisfaction of the conservation officer.
Thank you, councillors. Any proposals? Councillor Gabishak?
Okay, approval subject to the conservation officer. Then, thank you, Jodie.
Seconded by councillor Romans. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, councillor
Yeah, I'm
Arlett.
going to vote against this one as well.
Oh,
And I'm going to
dear.
vote against this first floor external terrace. Why you need the first floor external terrace is beyond me. Probably you want to look over people's gardens. I don't see the point of that at all. So other than that, yeah, I'm supporting it.
Are you refusing because you don't like the fire?
Councillor Buckley, have you got yours?
There was, yeah. I was gonna
There's
say
some neighbour
something.
comments about the first
Yeah.
floor external terrace.
Yeah, there was a neighbour complaining that the bedroom was going to, so it was being built in front of the bedroom. That would be, is that neighbourly? To have parties and things in your terrace in front of somebody's bedroom. There's that, the only other thing is that they're quite sort of close together down there. And from a conservation perspective, is it going to be disturbed, and can we say anywhere because of disturbing neighbours as they're building? I'm not sure how they would approach that.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Crook?
Loss of privacy.
So you're against? No. Okay.
Who's lost their privacy?
I think it's one by bedroom.
No, she's the one that overlooks the terrace, not the other way around. The terrace doesn't overlook her bedroom. Not until the building terrace, it's just a matter of principle.
Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, we have a motion for approval. It's been seconded. It has been seconded, yeah. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour? All those against? Okay. That's fallen. Another proposal, please.
Guys, for unneighbourly overdevelopment, just to mention there's no need for the external terrace. We'll be against that as well.
On a listed building, yeah, thank you. Seconded by myself.
Class boxes are allowed.
All those in favour?
It's the hot girl.
Thank you, that's carried. There's too much chattering. Councillors, there is too much chattering when I'm trying to count votes. Please, it's really, really disturbing my concentration. Right, let's move on. We've got P21 S4307. It's a full application and it's 61 L Street. I'm going to take this with the listed building application, which is P21 S4308. Let's hear from Jodie.
Yeah, my comment was in relation to the loss of retail. This is in the designated town centre where retail development should be directed. National policy does state that town centres should be promote vitality and viability by allowing to grow and diversify. They were my only comments in relation to this.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, would you like to debate first, or would you like to go straight to the proposal? Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Crook. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Buckley.
Only to draw attention to the comments about the loss of retail. Some of the comments back from Denise.
Speak up, I can't hear.
Beg your pardon.
Sorry, I can't hear.
No, it was just about, there were comments, I think, on the application regarding loss of retail. So I'm sort of in support of that. This is one of the next door neighbours. Basically, there's already issues with noise. So if you're going to have additional noise and you're going to have accommodation in there and you're going to lose the retail, there's almost like no incentive to try and keep the noise down.
Yeah.
So.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. Well, we've got a motion and it's approved. It's been seconded. So let's put this to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, for approval or not?
Approval. Okay. All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And the next one is P21 S4326, and it's for advertising consent, Penny Hockey Club, Reading Road. Councillor Plants.
Approval.
Seconded by Councillor Gabrishak.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P21 S4397. It's a household application and it's for 14 Rupert's Lane. Councillor Plants.
Straightforward approval.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gavrishak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay. All those in favour of approval? Thank you. That's carried. And the next one is P21 S4441, and it's a householder application, and it's for Great House, Old Grave Lane. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Plants.
I'm going to approve of this.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? All let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, next item on the agenda item 8, and it's the list of decision notices, just to note those that are granted and refused.
Objections and callings.
Oh, apologies, councillors. I'm ahead of myself. Let's go for any objections and calling applications, item number 7. Do we have any? Sure.
I can spot any.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's hop back to agenda item 8. It was just to note those that have come down from the planning authority, those decisions. And then we have got agenda item 9, which is an appeal consultation, but it's actually an appeal that we are unable to comment on. Jodie has got some notes.
Yeah.
Jodie, would you like to say item?
Yeah, you've just said, yeah, it's a householder application, so we're unable to comment on this unless I think we're removing our comments previously. I note that we recommended approval to this anyway previously.
Thank you. Okay, yes. Yeah. And item number 10, which is premises licenses, to consider the premises license for the applications. Let's deal with these in turn. The first one is Pavilion Foods 25 Marketplace. Oh, it's on,
The agenda.
it's one that you would have to click through to actually see. So we've got Pavilion Foods 25 Marketplace.
What is that going to be?
Isn't it like a cookery stall or something? Yeah, Councillor Plant, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I haven't seen one of these in a while, but it's just, there's very little in it that I can find about opening hours and hours that they intend to serve and all sorts. I'm in support of both of them, I think, but I was just very surprised at how vague, because when you do click on stuff like opening hours, it just says no information provided. Seems conditions.
Yeah, something like that, where you've got some.
I'm in support of them. Just thought it could be helpful.
Yeah, Councillor Arlett.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour? All those against? Okay, thank you. Let's take the next one, which is the Cheesy Grape for Marketplace. Cheesy Grape is again a deli. Was it the same situation where there was a lot of information in there?
Yeah. No, so this one does actually say Monday to Sunday from 11 AM to 12 AM.
Right, so that's helpful.
Well, yeah, it is, but I guess it obviously my interpretation of 12 AM is intended to go to midnight every day. That's where you live next to it, so it's a couple of them.
Next to the squad.
It's good to have two independents popping up in our town square for in support of both.
Yeah, well put. Seconded. Councillor Gavashak, thank you. Councillor Buckley, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, and we get to the item 11, which is the traffic and pedestrian surveys. Brina Henry Transport came and spoke earlier on this one. And I was wondering if Kath, who's the author of the report, would like to speak to this.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Chair. So I received representations from Rupert House, also from the transport group at Brina Henley, and also from the Bowling Court Residents Association, all requesting that we look at improving the crossing situation at various points around the town, so all of which are listed here. Over the last few years, I think various people have come at various times suggesting that we look at the situation with regard to crossings. The officer from OCC, who's responsible for highways in the area, came out and looked at all the locations and said, basically, until we do a pedestrian count and a speed and traffic count, then we don't really know what the situation is. We need to know, how many people are using the crossing points and what speed the traffic's going, because that will dictate what sort of crossing would be suitable in that location. So the speed counts are particularly reasonable, I think, and I think the more you have, the cheaper they get. And the pedestrian counts, that involves someone standing there for 12 hours, basically, counting. As we've got quite a budget with the planning committee, and we can't really move forward with any of these suggestions without knowing what the actual situation is, then it seems logical to propose that we could fund that from the planning committee's budget, which comes from SIL money, we could fund those surveys, get those done, and then we'll know what the situation is and whether we look at traffic on, whether we look at islands, whether we look at zebra crossings. What the best thing to do going forward is for we to be informed at the very least.
Thank you. Let's hear from our county councillor.
Yes.
Councillor Gavin.
I was wondering, Chair, with your permission, whether gentleman from the public gallery wishes to speak on this particular item, we would have to set aside standing minutes a little bit. But it seems reasonable that they speak.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
and then
So
I'll
the
shout
councillor's okay with that?
afterwards.
Okay.
That's
Go
very kind of you. Thank you ever so much. Yes, my name is Nick Armitage. I'm the headmaster at River House. I do apologise for being late. I had intended to be here, but the parents' evening was rather delayed. I'm new to Henley myself. I've been at school for just over a year now, and having spent a considerable amount of time in and around Henley over the course of the last year, I've been somewhat surprised that there isn't actually a safe crossing point across Bell Street. There is the refuge there on the island. However, it is a busy road, and a number of parents have commented over the years, but indeed a number of neighbours have done so as well. I have been in contact with them. They were willing to attend, and I'm sure would be willing to give their input to this as well. But I would suggest that this isn't just the school that are wanting to propose that in this particular spot it would be sensible for there to be some safe crossing point, but I'm sure a number of the residents around would also be in support of that as well.
Councillor, have we got any questions? Yes, Councillor Gavin. Questions, specifically questions? No? No? Comments? The only comment I have is that the only resident that I've heard from is actually critical of the parents in that their parking, it leaves a lot to be desired around the school. Do you have any comments about that?
It is an ongoing issue. We do constantly communicate with our parents about that. One of the issues I think relating to this as well is if there were a safe point at which for them to cross, it would help our case in putting that to them to park in other places.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Plant.
On that, the most used Waitrose car park, because I seem to walk back at drop-off time, and it seems to be the area by the library is predominantly where mums or dads dropping off. So I guess that's the most common point.
Yes, it is.
Councillor Gavin.
Are we moving into debate?
Yes, let's
Okay.
do that. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Yes, thank you very much. I've had a few conversations with you. I'm the county councillor, Stephen, for Henley. So I've had a few conversations with your predecessor about this. I think it's worth explaining to councillors, not that I'm being patronising, about what this process is. I went round these sites with the OCC officer, and there have been crossing points talked about, but the initial starting point of the process is traffic speeds, traffic counts, pedestrian counts. So this is just the start of the process. It does not mean that the crossings are going to come here. It does not mean that the crossings are even safe here, because I think on the face of it, you might look at some of these locations and say, yeah. The whole point of this, and I will now propose that we do spend the money. The whole point of this is to spend the money, is for the OCC officers to get the traffic counts and the traffic speeds and the pedestrian counts. And then they will go away and look at the safety aspects and design a scheme as to what is possible and what is not. So that is the process that we're in at the moment. And until we spend this money and we actually get the counts, we can't move forward. I think there are some desirable crossings to be had out of this process, but we don't know where they are at the moment or which ones are viable and feasible. So I would urge councillors not to get into the safety aspects of this. That will come later. Thank you. So I propose the recommendation.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Plant, thank you. Okay, Councillor Crook and then Councillor Buckler.
I can talk about crossings and crossings. Like I said before, on my King's Road, that is really quite dangerous if you're trying to cross as a pedestrian, because you are trying to look both ways at once. You want the people coming off the roundabout and everything. And also the one on the Fairmile, if you come off the bus, and I tried this last week, and you have to almost walk further down the road to get a clear, safe view where to cross the road, because it's almost like, well, it's not almost on a bend, but it's not a clear, straight view. So, yeah, it's quite dangerous to cross that road. You do have to pay ticket. Yeah, quite a bit.
Thank you. Councillor Buckley.
I think the only point I was going to make was there's a lot of focus on that entire area, because you've got a number of roundabouts, you've got a number of roads merging, you've got a large amount of traffic coming in. We've already had there was a fatality a year and a half ago, so on that. So whether it can be considered as once we get past into the next phase of looking at what's going to happen. But in general, I would be in favour of looking at that whole area as a whole. The Kings Road, fine, but the other 4 together, I consider that really good. If the budget setters funds, then yes, definitely.
My only observations about this is that we've had the 20 mile an hour limit put in, but it doesn't seem to have had the really desired effect that we were hoping for. And I'm wondering, the feedback that I've had about it is that we definitely need some more traffic calming measures in, because it's a conservation area, it's there's such sensitive roads in terms of the architecture around them, that you cannot have massive, great big 20 mile an hour signs, because it's a conservation area. So I'm wondering if there are any other kind of road markings that we could start discussing, that we could put in place that could, like white chevrons or something to slow people down.
Sleeping policemen.
Yeah.
I'm not getting proper policemen.
Councillor Plant.
I think this was part of the original discussion when we talked about the 20 mile an hour speed limit, it's only way of enforcing it or actually making it happen without putting the words in Stefan's mouth. I think it was a case of we put the 20 mile an hour zone in, we see how well that works, and we use that to then guide whether it is or isn't working, whether we need to take further measures. I think we probably all as councillors realised that putting in the signs wasn't going to be quite enough to slow people down. I live on that Kings Road bit between the Northfield and roundabout where your parents cross, and I swear I see cars get to 60, 70 miles an hour just between that and the Waitrose roundabout, like it's a challenge. I think one's going to end up in my front room at some point. Such is the way of some drivers these days. So I think, all of this is a wider part of see how well the 20 mile an hour works, and in months, if not 6 months or a year, we reassess and maybe look to take further measures if we can say they're not working.
Is there any way that we can impress upon the police to at least do some they do have these signs that count speed, and they can stand on the sides of the road and they can say slow down, just to keep.
Dave and Lorraine.
So councillors could perhaps go out for a couple of days on Kings Road and
speeding or catching speeders.
Yeah, I just think we need to try and enforce this 20 mile an hour limits as well. I mean, obviously we're going to take a vote on this, but
on the Fairmile, people don't observe the speed limit. They just hold up there, especially motorbikes. It's dangerous. It's so dangerous. When people are walking, you hear them accelerate, and you think, God, if they fell off, they die. It's really scary. Even though there's a camera there.
What is the best way forward in terms of just on the point of enforcement? Which is the best avenue to go down, Councillor Gavashak? Is it with the police? Is it with councillors? Is it with trying to train some residents on speed, counting speed?
The police's view on 20 mile an hour speed limits is they must be self-policed.
Okay.
So they will not actually set up speed traps in 20 mile an hour zone. Then you move into road engineering, which is chicanes, narrowing, speed, whatever, speed traps and whatever. Those come with problems as well.
Nobody wants them outside their houses.
They're university.
Yes, the data I've seen is that speed 20 mile an hour has been effective in reducing the speed, but there are isolated incidents where it's not. Certainly, we as a planning committee can start talking, and it's an agenda item really, that's separate from this. I think we should start talking about which spots do you think we need to look at. I mean, if it's the King's Road, if it's, I mean, it was a case that Gravel Hill was a problem, but I'd rather wait for that until we see the effect of the pedestrian
That's why I
crossing.
think we should look how some of these work,
Yeah.
such as the gravel hills again.
So let's
And then
have
see
it
what
as
we
an
do from
agenda item.
Because it's been less than a year that we've had the 20s.
Agreed. And let's come up with a list, and then we'll start looking at the list and do that forward. There is a move. Sorry, just to complete. There is a move at county, and I was at county all day today. For 20 mile an hour across Oxfordshire, you know, you don't have to go through this rigmarole and this real process. And it was stated that in fact, if we are going to roll out 20 mile an hour across Oxfordshire, then the police will have to step up to start doing the speed you know, traps and stuff like that. So there may well be a move at county
Okay. So
to
watch
encourage
this space.
Thames Valley police to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank
So-
you for that update.
We haven't got the police. When you have an accident in Henley, they come to Babington or Bicester.
That's a different matter. Yeah.
Well, they're here pretty quickly if there's a, yeah, anyway, right.
Okay, right, so let's,
I mentioned one thing.
yes, go ahead, councillor Clark.
When we put speed camera signs up, falsely, to slow people down.
Because you just advertise it in open session.
There are no false advertising, there are proper cameras.
Okay, let's,
And the press are over there.
We can't say they're false and then put mine, that fits the point.
20 mile an hour signs, nobody takes any notice of them.
It's another agenda point for another day.
Yeah.
We propose to spend the money on the counts and the speeds
Yes.
from SIL and planning
Right,
budget.
if there's no more debate, shall I sum up?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
As I said, this is the first step. Get the traffic counts done, the traffic speeds done, you know, the pedestrian count. Let the officers, you know, design some schemes. Maybe invite the officers here to a planning meeting to actually sort of have a chat. If they mocked up some things, and then we'll move it forward. There definitely does need, I think, down Northfield End and the Rupert House area, there definitely needs to be some work, but I won't prejudge what the work's going to be until we go through the process. Okay.
Okay.
So I propose the recommendation on the paper, please.
5.1, seconded. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried, thank you.
Bring back the lollipop lady, that's what we need. There used to be a lollipop lady by Trinity, do you remember that? Sorry, lollipop person.
May I just say, well, we should move this to the progress report at the back of the agendas. Yeah, yeah.
Can I just say, would it not be
Can we just move on to the next item? Thank you. Okay, so let's go to, we have done, yeah, so item number 12, progress report for applications called in on page 25. It's just to note those. Any updates, Councillor Arlett? No, nothing to note there, thank you. And the progress report for the planning committee on item 13, page 27. No, nothing
Is that the
to
wrong date at the bottom there?
have a look.
212.
Yeah, should that be 22?
Oh, it's about
22. Or did I miss that?
It's not 22 yet, is it?
No,
it's
exactly,
next
that's
year.
what I'm making.
I might have got it wrong.
You haven't
Well,
had
it's, we haven't had that, no, but that's the date it was, that's how long it's been on the agenda for,
Oh, is that what it
unfortunately.
is? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, okay. Oh, I thought that was the date we were going to have it.
Yeah, no, unfortunately that, we're still waiting on SODC to produce the materials for us.
Waiting on SADC, we can't possibly.
Okay, right, I think we've, that concludes the meeting.